On today's episode, I had Donny Ruffin on the show, and if you don't know Donny, he is crushing it in the real estate game, doing millions of dollars in profit. But the funny thing about Donny is that he was on the show Marrying Millions, and if you haven't seen that show, it is super funny to watch, and I'll let you guys go check it out after this podcast. But we go over all things of what it was like being on TV, building a company, as well as getting work-life balance. So you want to stay till the end. Now let's jump into it. If you've ever wanted to invest with me on my real estate deals, it's now possible. At Pineda Capital, we're purchasing value-add real estate all across the country. This includes multifamily, commercial, and land development. The best part is, with my network, social media presence, and marketing strategies, we're able to get the very best deals that others don't have access to. You can join in with me on those deals if you're an accredited investor. If you want to learn more, head over to pinedacapital.com to see our current opportunities. Once again, that's pinedacapital.com. One of the hardest parts about real estate investing is finding a good contractor. That's where Southwestern Custom Construction comes in. They've been doing remodels in Nevada and Arizona since 2006. As a fully licensed and bonded general contractor, they're able to help with any type of renovation, all the way from an entry-level fixer-upper to a custom luxury home. Southwestern Custom Construction specializes in working with investors. I've personally used them on many of my projects, so I know their team is legit. If you want to get a bid on a project, head over to customhomenow.com. Once again, that's customhomenow.com. Welcome to the Ryan Pineda Show, where our mission is to invest.
I only expect to make money in things that I understand.
Innovate.
It's about believing in the future and thinking that the future will be better than the past.
And inspire. I am much more likely to hit my goal just due to putting it out there.
You're now rocking with the best.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Ryan Pineda Show. Today, we are here in Dallas, Texas at my friend Donny Ruffin's event. It's actually called The Event.
Yep.
And he was gracious enough to invite me out here to speak. And, man, dude, that place was popping.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you had a good time.
Yeah, dude,
So-
it was awesome. There was over 1,000 real estate investors, many who had come from out of state at the Virgin Hotel. Very nice place. And that was really unlike any real estate meetup I've ever been a part of. And it was completely free.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of the goal, is to make it a lot different than everybody else's. People have the weekend events and stuff like that, so I always get tired and stuff like that. So I'm like, let's just knock it out in one night.
Just one rager.
Yeah, just
one night
quick
rager.
5 hours, get it out the way, and then move on to the next day.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, it's fun while it lasts until you got to film a podcast the next morning. So
Yeah, well, I'm alive.
we're here. So anyways, for those of you who don't know Donny, he is a real estate investor out here in, the DFW area, and they do deals all over Texas. And I met Donny, it was 3 years ago at an event, and just to watch him in his progression from then till now is amazing. And not only has he made millions in that time, just doing all sorts of things in real estate, but ended up landing him on TV.
Yeah.
And ironically, the way I found out you were on TV was from actually watching the show Marrying Millions. I did not know you were going to be on it. Quick background, guys. If you guys have ever seen Marrying Millions, then you know what I'm talking about. My wife, Mindy, loves reality TV. She just loves drama.
Yeah.
And I tell her all the time, I'm like, babe, this isn't real, right? And she's like, I don't care. I love watching it. And I'm like, okay. So we watched the first season of Marrying Millions, and we're like, that was pretty good. For what it was. And I see this preview for Marrying Millions 2, and sure enough, you pop up. And I was like, what is going on here? I know that guy.
Yeah.
And so I text you. I was like, dude, this is crazy. I was randomly watching this show, and then I see you. So,
Yeah.
dude, that was funny, man.
Yeah, I get that a lot. Some of my family members are still in shock. I'm like, well, it's kind of weird even to me to go out in public, and sometimes you forget oh yeah. He's like, dude, I know you from somewhere. I'm like, oh yeah, you probably saw me on TV, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
that's funny, man. So we'll talk about the TV show and how all that came about as we go on in the episode, but why don't you just give everyone a brief rundown of like who you are, where you came from, and you know why you even deserve to be on TV.
Yeah, well, it's kind of crazy what you know, what progression does, and you know, everybody's got their own story. So I grew up in a small country town in Ohio. Ended up moving to Texas at the end of my high school. I was like a junior in high school, moved to Texas, and when I turned 18, got into sales, direct sales. So I was like door-to-door sales, direct marketing. So I did that for a lot of years, and I ended up being really good at it. So me and my old boss became business partners, and we just started our own company. And then, you know, I was making some money and obviously interested in real estate like pretty much everybody's watching this. So I was always intrigued by it, and I got, you know, involved in wholesaling a little bit and found success with that and just stuck with it. And now we do quite a bit of deals all over Texas. So it's kind of crazy, you know, what can happen if you just stay focused and consistent over time.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your operation, you know, say 3 years ago when we met to versus where it is today.
Yeah. So when I first started, I started doing wholesale deals. I did probably 5 or 7. I don't remember the exact number. And then I started taking them down because at the time I was really involved in my marketing company, and that was like my main focus. And
this was the door-to-door sales.
Yeah. So that was, I mean, it was a fairly successful company. We built, you know, a multi-million-dollar operation all around the country. So that was my main focus. And what I found with wholesaling, it requires a lot of time and focus. So I ended up dabbling into fix and flips, and that's where I found it was a little bit more efficient with my time. You know, profit margins were a little smaller, but the net was a lot higher. So, and the time to actually, you know, find the deals was significantly a lot smaller. So I ended up scaling that. So I would, you know, normally take down 2 to 3 properties every month. And I mean, that was kind of around the time when we first met a couple years ago. I was probably doing 4 or 5. And I was really impressed with what you were doing because you were doing hundreds at the time. So you're a huge inspiration to me on that standpoint. And then probably almost 3 years ago, I ended up shutting my marketing company down. And then we started going direct to seller. And then I started acquisition team.
Yeah.
Here in Dallas.
Yeah.
So now we have about 12 people in house that just hunt deals and sell deals all day, and you know, it's pretty good.
Yeah, man. One thing that, as I've watched you these last 3 years on social media, and it seems like it's always been the sales guys and the wholesalers. Like I've seen like this evolution of, all right, let's just hire everybody and like go crazy. And then I've seen you scale it back and then try and be more efficient. Like, what have you learned throughout this process?
Yeah, so when I first shut my marketing company down, I tried to take my talents and the same things that worked for me in that company to real estate. And it took me about 1.5 years to realize it didn't really actually work the same. Because, yeah, like my mindset used to be in my marketing company is the more people, the more salespeople we hire, the more, you know, profit we make as a company just because we're able to produce
especially
more
if
sales.
everyone's all commission-based. Like
exactly.
Just, hey, the more bodies.
Yeah. So, you know, as I progressed, you know, we made a lot of money doing that, but started paying attention to the net profits and, you know, the time, the life cycle per rep. And it just wasn't really, you know, working out the way I anticipated. So, you know, after a couple of years, I kind of realized maybe it's smarter to hire sharper people, pay them a little bit more money, and then I don't need to manage as many people. And that's kind of what I've learned over the years is I'd rather just pay more money to sharper people and have a smaller amount of people than deal with a lot more people and then make less.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I found that works for me personally. On top of that, you know, the retention's like 0 now because it's not all commission anymore. We pay salaries and pretty hefty commissions too, so we're able to retain those sharp people.
Yeah. You know, the one thing I'll say is I had a similar experience as we were growing our company in our sales and marketing department. I hired just anybody and everybody and let them be in the office, and you know, you realize that, man, these, like, the majority of them just aren't cut out to do this.
Yep.
And, you know, you get a few that rise to the top, and you're like, all right, these guys are good. And the other guys just are not worth the headache, even if they do make you money. Because you could easily justify it, like, well, he got a deal. He got this. But you realize, how many deals did this guy lose me?
Yeah.
You know, he was talking to this lead, too, and,
Yep.
you know, there's opportunity cost for sure. So one thing I've also realized now, just opening multiple businesses and stuff, is the value of A players.
Yeah.
We were talking to, Ryan Harper over here, who's, mixing this podcast for us right now, and your co-host at the event.
Yeah.
And he does a great job. But he and I were just talking about this before the show that, he's like, man, I would love to scale this, but I can't find the right A players and stuff. And I've heard that sentiment on multiple occasions, like almost every event I go to, or students, other things. Mm-hmm. And, I read a book recently called No Rules Rules. Mm-hmm. It's by Reed Hastings, the CEO of Netflix. And Netflix is notorious for being like very cutthroat with their employees. Like it's and it's not like they don't love their employees. It's just like, yo, if you don't meet the standard, you're out.
Yeah.
I don't even want any good people.
Yeah.
I only want great.
Yeah.
And they have this reputation across Silicon Valley. Like they're the best place to work because if you're in, you're in.
Yeah.
And you're a stud and you get, freedom because they trust you. It's like in the book they give examples of these guys buying documentaries, and the guy had the you ever watch the documentary Icarus?
I haven't.
It was about the steroid scandal, and at the time with that documentary they got to they were in a bidding war to get it. Mm-hmm. And essentially he's like, can I go up to $4 million to buy this documentary? Never been done in the history of documentaries. And they're like, dude, it's up to you. Like, you run the department. Ain't nobody going to tell you to do it but you. Yeah. And so, he ends up doing it. Whereas in other companies, it'd be like, oh, man, we got to have a board meeting. We got this is a big decision.
Right.
But because they have such good A players, they don't need to do that.
Right.
And they pay them really well, like you just said. Like, they pay them above market so that if anybody does try and poach them or whatever, it's like, you're going to outpay us too?
Yep.
Good luck.
Right. Yeah.
So
well, it's not only that. I think we, you're hit it right on the top, like the cream of the crop. Like if you don't hit standards, then you're not going to last very long, and people know that. And we've created a culture where that's just the standard. And even if somebody else is offered to pay more or they can do it by themselves, they'd prefer to stay with us just because of the culture we built. Yeah. So that has a huge influence on a lot of retention and attracting the right players, just because you are who you surround yourself with. So if you have people in your company that don't align with your specific core values, then you're going to attract the wrong people. So we've been really good at really being strict with our core values. It attracts the right people, without a doubt, and the culture is amazing.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. We've experienced the same thing. I mean, the people that work at our companies, they're all very like-minded. We have the same goals, the core values, and
you guys all have good hair.
No, I have a lot of bald guys. The thing is,
you either have great hair or just go bald because you can't compete.
I can't name one person with good hair that works for me.
well, it's kind of hard to compete with you.
Yeah, well, or I purposely hire bald people to look better. It's one of those two. So yeah, dude, that's cool because I think people need to hear that. Like I don't care if you're trying to scale your company and you've got multiple reps, or if you're hiring that first person, like it is so key to not just hire your buddy or whatever. Like hire an A player.
Yeah, and that, I mean, I used to just, like what you said, hire anybody and everybody, but it got to the point where I refuse to hire certain people even if they're good friends with them. Like people beg us to come work at our company now, and it's not that we're trying to play hard to get. It's like we're very particular on who we bring into our culture. And we're going to stick to it. It's working. It's don't change it unless it's broken, but it's been a huge milestone for us to actually figure that part out, and I'm blessed because we have a great team.
Yeah.
A lot of people in my company make a significant impact on a lot of my success in my company. And they do very well for themselves.
For sure.
I have multiple people in my company that are, already cleared 6 figures for the year. So it's so
We're
awesome.
only halfway through.
Yeah, it's so awesome to see that. It's fulfilling to me too. So it keeps me going.
That's amazing, bro. I love that. And the last piece I'll say about hiring that I remember from that book, and I've seen it firsthand, is like you could have, let's just say you had 10 A players, or you had 9 A players, and then you had one like bad apple, right? Yep. They've done so many studies that have showed that the bad apple brings down the A players like significantly. Mm-hmm. And if you think about it, you know, it's like, man, all right, if we're all hanging out and you got that one Debbie Downer who's just negative, you're like, dude, this is like killing it for everybody.
It's the energy, man.
Yeah.
It's all about the energy. Especially when you have a sales culture, it's so important to protect that. Because you got momentum rolling, then you got that one guy that's not clicking for him, and then he's just bringing everybody down, being a Debbie Downer. Because he feels like, hey, I have something's going on in my life, so I'm going to make everybody else feel that, and it makes them feel better about themselves. And sometimes they don't even know it.
No, they don't.
They don't. So yeah, it's like you got a chopping block at the bottom, and it keeps people on their toes because they don't want to be on it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So, well, you know, obviously business is going good. You guys are crushing it on that. Let's talk about this event. So, you know, I had a blast, and I'd seen you guys been doing it. You guys started doing it in COVID.
Yeah.
You were just like, whatever, we're just going to do it. And this is Texas, so you guys can do whatever you want. And I was like, I was shocked the first one I saw because I saw it on social media. What month was that?
It was like mid-October, early October.
You guys just like right when it opened, there was like 1,000 people partying, and I was like, dang, this is nuts.
Yeah.
They don't care in Texas.
Yeah. Well, it was. We had a lot of politics to push through to make that event happen, and you know we definitely took advantage of the opportunity because nobody else was doing events.
Right.
So I thought it was a great opportunity to get in and start that brand, so people, you know, because they didn't have any other events to go to, so they're like forced to come to ours.
This is like the first event, you know, in forever.
Right.
Yeah, so I was shocked at how many people actually turned out. And the cool thing that I saw you do was, like you said, you created a brand behind it. It wasn't like, oh, you know, I'm just throwing this meet up, come hang out. You were like, hey, you know what? I don't know what this is going to turn into, but like let's build it as a brand that could potentially, you know, who knows, be nationwide. It could be local, like whatever. And so you called it The Event.
Yeah.
Where did like all this begin?
Well, you talk about A players, right? So I knew this individual. His name is Ryan Harper. He has this company called Harper Belmont. Or Belmont, what is it? Harper Belmont. So
he's mixing for us.
He was like a coordinator for other events. So obviously, if I'm going to start something, I want to be the best at it. I don't want to start something and I don't want to be a part of something if it's not like the best, right? I will never put my hands on it. I won't even be a part of it. So that was always my goals. And I'm like, when I started, I was like, I want to have the best team around that. And the best person I knew was Ryan. And, you know, he brought a lot of values that I didn't have or didn't understand, and I brought a lot of influence to the event. So with his help, you know, we were able to negotiate a great deal with the hotel. You know, we got very creative with that. And, you know, when we first launched it, I thought it was just going to be like a 100-person meetup every month, once a month. And we launched the first one, and like the first day we had like 300 people register. So I was like, holy crap, like we need to get the bigger space. And then it got to a point where it's just like, holy crap. We need the whole floor.
Yeah.
Because especially during COVID, because of the
guidelines.
Guidelines. So that's what happened. We had to literally rent the whole floor out. And obviously, you know, you can get creative with finances. So that's when sponsors came in. It's just like, hey, look, we have, you know, 1,000 people that's going to be here. You should come sponsor. So the sponsors helped out significantly. We made it happen. And that's where the event was born. And I realized there was a lot of energy, a lot of time. So instead of doing it once a month, we decided to do it once a quarter. So it's something that people can look forward to after 3 or 4 months, and we had enough time to promote it. So instead of having it every month, like 100, 200 people, it's like, let's do, you know, 1,000, 1,500 people once a quarter.
Yeah, no, I mean, the way you guys did it for sure is epic. And I mean, what's the plan for it? Yeah,
so it, like, obviously my main motivation initially was to have some sort of quote unquote commercial for my company brand, which is Equity Cash Offer. And we started sponsoring other events, and we realized we pick up a lot of business from other wholesalers because we buy deals from them. We sell a lot of deals to a lot of the investors. So it's like, let's have our own event. Let's have it backed by Equity Cash Offer. And let's take over the whole state. So that's kind of what we did. So now we're like the main go-to wholesaling fix and flip company in Texas, just because, or it has a lot to do with the brand of the event. It helps significantly.
I know it'd be hard to kind of give a true ROI because people always ask me, they're like, okay, but is social media worth it?
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude,
yeah,
you don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, it's way worth it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell them, I'll be like, they're like, okay, so how much are you spending? You know, all this stuff. I'm like, honestly, on social media alone, for my production team, for everything that we do, I spend probably $40,000 a month just on overhead.
Yeah.
You know, it's not ads. That's just my salaries. And they're like, and you still think it's worth it? And I'm like, dude, do you realize, like, all my businesses, how many leads and how much money they make because of the attention and traffic social media brings? And to get to your point, too, you mentioned sponsors and affiliates. I mean, at this point, too, we can pretty much break even with sponsors, affiliates, and YouTube AdSense and all this stuff that, would pretty much cover all that. So then it's like everything else is pure profit.
Yep.
And, so for you guys, the event, do you have any idea, like, how many deals or anything it's brought you?
Man, it's really hard to put a number on it just because there's no way to track it.
Yeah.
But I can tell you one thing, it has a lot to do with influence, and that's something you can't buy, right?
Yeah.
Just building your personal brand, building a company brand, and really taking it serious, it makes a significant difference on the ROI. But it's really hard to track. We started a whole division after we started launching the events with JV deals, just because we couldn't take down everything.
Yeah.
So now we help a lot of wholesalers move their deals, and that's something we've never done. That brings in a couple $100,000 a month just off that one
JV and deals.
Yeah, just that one division.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. Not only to obviously money's cool, but the impact I'm able to make on the community and see people's success and connect and stuff. It's so awesome to see.
Yeah. No, it's super cool, man. And I've told this to people all the time. I'm like, guys, you should definitely get on social media first and foremost. I mean, for you, you're really only active on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
And you're able to
Facebook too.
Facebook. Yeah. So you're able to still throw a massive event just like being on two platforms, right? Yep. And you've gotten deals before this event from your social media and personal brand. Mm-hmm. And I'm always a big proponent, especially in real estate investing. I'm like, just get out there and share with people what you're doing. Mm-hmm. You don't need to be like a guru explaining how to do things. Just show people what you're doing and let people know that, hey, I'm having success, or I'm looking at deals. Like, you want to be a part of it? You got a deal? Like, whatever. Like, we can work together in some type of way.
Yep.
And the return on social media is, for most, infinite, because most people don't have a production team. Like, they're just posting themselves. It's free.
Yep.
And typically, you're just posting things you're doing anyway.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going out of your way to like do something. So I think everyone needs to take it seriously. And one big thing that you did with the event that I've thought about doing, and I actually used to do, is, obviously throw, a meetup, which the event really is. It's a meetup, and just be the host, because when you're the host of the meetup, you get instant authority.
Yep.
And whether you're doing deals or not, like, people are like, dang, like, okay, Ryan's throwing the meetup, like, he's the guy to talk to. He knows who's who, and he'll be able to connect me or whatever.
Right.
And I think everyone can do that, because there is a huge shortage of meetups across the country.
Exactly.
You could easily, if you just took it seriously, became like the authority of meetups in your market.
Yeah. Well, I always recommend that, and it's kind of like one of those things I wish I would have done it years ago. I wish I would have not thought about, hey, too much competition, all these negative thoughts in my mind of why I shouldn't have an event, and just actually go out there and do it, because it makes a significant difference on your brand. Like, it makes the biggest difference. And even just attending them too. It's, if you can just show up and make sure that people know that you're active, makes a big world of a difference. Yeah,
no doubt about it. And it's weird for me at this point, because most of my events are paid for. Mm-hmm. And, I've got so many different events and things going on that side for education.
Yep.
But 2 years ago, I used to hold a meetup before I ever started doing this other stuff on social media. And, we would get 100 to 200 people at these events. We had to cap them because we just didn't have room.
Yeah, right.
And they were great. I
Yep.
can tell you I got a lot of deals from them. It gave me authority.
Yep.
It did a lot of great things. And, I mean, this is Las Vegas, which is a pretty big market.
Yeah.
You're in DFW, which is
Yep.
a pretty big market. Like, the fact that pretty big markets didn't have this going on
Yeah.
tells you something.
Yeah.
If you're in a small town,
Yeah.
it's easy.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really cool thing to do, and you guys are crushing it. I'm excited, too, to see what the event evolves into.
Yeah.
If you guys stay in Texas or you guys potentially make it a nationwide brand, which I know for sure, just knowing you've thought about.
Oh yeah, big time. Well, there's a lot of reasons why it's still here in Dallas. One of the big reasons is I'm about to be a father, so my next goal is to be the best dad. So it's cool to have a venue to just go down the street. So it really helps with that aspect of it, because there's a lot behind the scenes to make an event like that happen.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to keep my focus and energy limited to a sense of I have a lot of other priorities.
Yeah.
But it's definitely going to get there. It's
Yeah.
definitely going to get there. The future is amazing with it.
Yeah, people, as entrepreneurs, right, we have a million ideas.
Yeah.
And people tell me this all the time, like, well, why don't you do this? Well, why don't you do that? Why don't you open a brokerage in these other states? And what I'm like, because I got like 8 other things that are above it on the priority list. Like,
Exactly.
it's not that it's a bad idea. It's
Yeah.
just like, it's not a priority because there's
Yep.
way bigger things that I'm working on.
Yeah, people tell me a lot. It's like, why don't you start charging for coaching? I'm like, well, Ryan Pineda has the best program.
There you go, guys.
Like,
Futureflipper.com. Check it out.
Like, for real, like you have an amazing platform. So, I know a couple other people with great education stuff. It's just one of those things where I will not start something unless I'm going to be the best at it.
Yeah.
I can't just put my name and my brand behind something without taking it to, be the absolute best. you
Right.
know? So you hit it right on the head. It's just priorities.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I'm the same way. It's like, dude, if I'm going to do a business,
Yep.
I want to make sure I'm the best. If
Yep.
I'm going to go hard at social media, I better put out the best content.
And you do.
I'm trying, man.
You do.
I got to get the best guest. I got to get, the best sound mixer behind me, the best cameraman. But that's how you have to look at it. If you're going to do something, it takes just as much effort to think about what is it going to take to be at the top versus, oh, I guess I got to film today. What am I going to do? That's what most people do.
Yeah.
So, well, speaking of being the best, I want to talk about your endeavors on TV. Now, before we get into that, let's hear a quick word from our sponsors. Have you ever wanted to invest in real estate, but you didn't have the time to find deals yourself? That's where Fundrise comes in. Fundrise is a crowdfunding platform that has transacted over $5 billion in real estate and has over 150,000 active investors. While many funds, like my own, require accredited investors, Fundrise allows anyone to invest with as little as $500. If you'd like to learn more, check out fundrise.com. Once again, that's fundrise.com. Are you looking to find off-market real estate deals? One of the best tools my team uses is Batch Leads. With Batch Leads, you're able to pull data, manage lists, and send text messages. On top of that, you can get nationwide access to the MLS to get pictures and comps. My team has used Batch Leads to get some of our best deals, so I know it works. You want to start today? You can get half off your first month by going to batchleads.io and using the promo code Ryan. Once again, that's batchleads.io, promo code Ryan for half off your first month. Now, back to the show. All right, dude. So let's talk about this marrying millions thing, man. And I know you got confidentiality agreements, so don't, you don't have to answer if you can't.
Okay.
So, but that being said, okay. First off, how did it even start? How did you get on it?
Yeah. So it's really crazy how it happened because social media, right? This lady started hitting my DMs really consistently and on Instagram, and she's like, hey, we're doing this TV show. I can't really explain too much, but let's hop on a Skype and see if it's something that you guys want to be a part of, because this is what we're looking for. So they were specifically looking for somebody in real estate in Texas. and they wanted significant income differences between your spouse or your girlfriend or fiance or what have you. And it was something that I was not really in favor of being a part of, just because it's like, it's not really worth my time. Like, why would I do this? Like, I'm so involved in all these things. I don't want to be a part of something unless it's the best. And so we get on Skype, and I have my girl get on, because I just left the decision 100% up to her. I was like, hey,
if you want to do it, I'll do it.
If this is, because when me and my fiance started dating, I was like, you're such an awesome person. You're going to be famous one day. It's just people don't know who you are yet. And that's something I always told her. And I didn't realize it's something that we were manifesting into reality, because sure and behold, she gets on Skype and she just like, dude, we have to do this. Like, let's make this happen. Like, I understand it's kind of like a weird type of TV show, but let's do it. And so she wanted to do it, and she got my support on that side, and I agreed to it. So there was a lot of back and forth with the network in order to get the contracts aligned the way I wanted, and if they didn't make that happen, it was not something I was going to be a part of. And a couple of weeks went by, and they kept calling and texting, and they finally agreed to align the contracts the way we wanted, and it became a reality TV. So, and it happened really fast, right? As soon as we signed those contracts, there was like 12 people a part of the crew in our face for like
just like at your house
at my house, just like it happened really fast. And like you could probably see when you watch the show, it was just like, I was like, I'm used to doing podcasts and stuff like that, but
this is different. There's 12 people,
full time, like flying in from LA, New York, Florida,
professionals
specifically to just film us.
Yeah.
And it was different, man, and it was something that the first couple episodes, I struggled really hard with, people telling me what to do, for one, just because I'm an entrepreneur. I had to stick on schedule, and that's not something that I enjoy, to stick somebody else's schedule. And for two, there was a lot of acting involved with it, and confidentiality or whatever, but that's just the reality of reality TV.
It's TV, period.
Yeah. So there's a lot. I mean, we obviously had a storyline, and it was just like overly expressed, and it was a lot of repeating, and it was different. It was an experience for sure.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I'll say is like with being on camera, I've learned this too.
Yeah.
Is you do have to be overly expressive. You have to be an actor. You have to really amplify what you're saying. And I like the podcast because it's a normal conversation, right? But when I make a YouTube video and I'm walking through a house, I do know that, like, look, I have to be an actor. I have to make this entertaining. And that's part of it. And I'm curious, like, what the negotiations looked like for you, because I've had many producers reach out to me and people trying to get shows pitched, and I've gone through I've gone through the process a couple of times, and now at this point I'm like, unless you already are going to sign me right here, right now, I'm not doing any interviews anymore because this is such a waste of time. And I've done the interviews. I've gotten to each level of the, like, okay, because there's always a next level of who needs to approve you. And then you start talking contracts and stuff too. And like you said, there's negotiations, and I mean, for those of you who don't know, and I'm sure it was this way for you, is like the first contract, you ain't really making anything. Like they're just testing you, essentially, and then they can pick up a second season or a third, and eventually you make your money on your next contract, really.
Yeah, I mean, well, we made some money, and it was like, we just wanted, me personally, I just wanted it to align. It's just like, okay, if we're going to spend this many hours, this is what we need. Yeah. And, my girl loved it, and it made me feel good that she wanted to do it. And, she's a rock star, man. Yeah. She's literally like the dream woman, to get, like, to have the humility to go on there and present our lives like that, which is just so awesome. Yeah. Because,
And that's interesting that, she's the one who wanted to do it, because
How
the
it's
whole
portrayed.
the whole point of the show is like making her, the one
Yep.
without the income, look like a gold digger. Like that's the whole point of the
Well,
show.
that's where me and her aligned, right? So it was just like we were having conversations before the show. It's like, hey, look, this is something to essentially get our feet in the door, or our foot.
It's a lot of exposure.
And so because we were aligned, all the noise outside of me and her, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
So we knew we were gonna have haters. We knew we were gonna have people that didn't understand.
Yeah.
Obviously our close family, it's like strong conversations with them. So, even out like further family members are like kind of confused. They're like, what the heck? Like, what is going on? And then, we prepared like this long text message to be like, hey, a lot of this stuff's overly expressed. There's a lot of, acting and stuff. So just relax. But it was just having that alignment with her made a big difference. So,
yeah.
we can go in and say, hey, would we do it again? Probably.
Yeah.
Would we do the same show? Probably not.
Yeah.
So it was good. It was good.
So obviously no season 3 for you guys.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
And part of one of our confidential agreements is, we have to sit out for a year after the finale. So come March, there's going to be exciting things happening, which is awesome because, we have a lot of networks reaching out right now, and now we can just kind of dabble and pick and choose.
That's cool.
So it's
awesome.
Cool.
I love that. And you're about to be a dad.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's exciting, dude.
Yeah, it's something I wanted for a lot of years, and super exciting. It's happening. I wanted it to happen a lot longer, but out of respect for my lady, so we're making it happen. So
yeah, man.
So August 3rd.
Well, and with that, at the event, I had multiple people reach out to me, and they said, dude, honestly, our favorite part about the podcast and just your content is like when you talk about your schedule and work-life balance and stuff like that. And I was actually shocked because I really, at the end of the day, like, until you meet people firsthand, like in person, and they tell you like the true fans and whatever, like that was like the number one thing. It wasn't like, man, Ryan, how do I flip a house? It was like, dude, I really resonated with that part of your message, and all that stuff. And off camera too, you said the same thing. You were like, hey man, the one thing that I've really learned from you watching you was the balance stuff. I used to, be on my employees, and the culture was, you better grind it out. Like, tell me about that.
Yeah. So, being in direct sales for a lot of years, like when we were in, direct marketing and door-to-door and business-to-business sales, it's just like we're working 12 hours a day, Sundays, Saturdays, whatever it takes to get the sale, right? And all commission, obviously. So, that was like the entrepreneurship culture. And it's one of the things I've learned in business that helped a lot with our retention is just the work to life balance. And I'm 27 now, and a lot of people that work around us is around the same age and starting to get married, have kids, and things of that nature. And that's what I realized is that's why people are working, and that's why I work. And I know I like my work-life balance. So people are a lot more productive when you don't make them work the weekends, right? So we used to work Monday through Saturday, and now we work Monday through Friday, right? We used to work, 10 to 8. Now we work, 9 to 6. Or, and to be honest, like we're not really huge sticklers on, hey, you have to be here at a specific time or anything like that. Past 6, like, dude, why? Like, go spend some time with your kids.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it made a significant difference in our retention. It made a significant difference on the productivity in our reps and our employees. It made a significant difference on the bottom line of profit, which is crazy. Now, catch me 6 years ago, I would have the complete opposite mentality, and I actually had to physically see it with my own life and my own company to actually see, hey, it's super important to have that work-life balance.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. And I never knew that I was kind of onto something with that because, we watch the same people on social media, and it's like everybody is preaching the same message of grind, you know, you got to make it happen, and that's the only way. And then you also see the message of, hey, it's temporary.
Yeah.
I'm only going to do this for a little bit until I get us going.
Yeah.
And, the one thing I've always said is, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Very few people change because there's
Yeah.
this new big goal. There's new problems. And as your company grows, your commitment usually grows
Yep.
too, where you're like, dude, I got to do this and this and this. But then when we think back to the dream of being an entrepreneur,
Yep.
it's always like, oh, man, I want to own my own company, but, like, have it just make me money.
Yeah.
I don't want to do anything.
Yeah, like for example, like my why started to change as I got older and progressed in business. That's why I say, like, 6 years ago it would have been completely different, but now, like, I mean, I have money. Like, I have
Yeah.
I'm going to be fine, right? I don't have to stress, about like a lot of things just because we have cash reserves and
Yeah.
assets and things of that nature, but I'm more motivated by freedom than I am for money.
Yeah.
And I started to realize a lot of people that have families or start families, they're more motivated by that time freedom than they are on the paycheck.
For sure.
And I mean, that's why I started a company. That's why I have a company, is because now I have freedom. I'm free to do what I want, when I want, with whoever I want, wherever I want. And it's one of the fruits that came from labor that, hey, I experienced it, but now even with new people, it's just like, hey, dude, you need to have time with your family because this is why you work in the first place.
Yeah.
So they spend that time with the family, they come back to work, and then that productivity is significantly a lot higher.
Way better.
Yep.
And, I mean, us as owners, right, we have to realize that if we want time freedom,
Mhm.
right, why would we not expect our employees to want that as well?
Yep.
A lot of us, we want, like, man, we want this guy to work really hard. But if you just stop and take a second and think,
Mhm.
man, like, what is it that I want? Wouldn't
Yep.
they probably want that too? Like, they want to make more money and work less. Like,
Yep.
how do I make that happen for all of us?
Yep.
And, for us, we've done it this way for a long time. We've never worked weekends.
Mhm.
The office is literally shut down. You can't get in it.
Yep.
And we've always been 10 to 5.
Yep.
And it always starts from the top, right? I've said this before. It's like many people have worked at the culture where, the boss does, like, work nonstop. And so it's like, you better match his hustle or you're out.
Right.
And it just happened naturally in my companies where I was like, hey, guys, like, I don't work weekends. Like, this is not what I do.
Yep.
And I'm going to get in at 10 because I got to, like, do my routine. I got to work
Yeah.
out. I got to have my morning routine. And I got to make sure I get enough sleep. And so 10 is just the earliest I can get in the
Yeah.
office.
Yeah.
But you see many realtors and stuff who get in at 6 in the morning.
Yep.
They start hitting their cold calls and doing their, Mike or Tom Ferry routine, right? And I just never want to do that. And so I was like, how can I build this lifestyle I want to live, but still make the money I want to make?
Yep.
And still take care of and so you start to think about it, and you're like, it's possible. It's just nobody tries to do it because
Yep.
they think that there's only one way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it goes another thing too. Like, a lot of people that are starting in real estate or starting into a different avenue of business, they have that 9 to 5, which I can understand. But, like, you still have to have delegated time that you're focusing on certain tasks. So I can understand, hey, let's work my 9 to 5 job, and then after I get off, dedicate some time, to bang out those tasks that you need to start the new venture.
Yep.
But you have to spend that delegated time outside of business and work.
Yeah.
It makes a significant difference on a lot of different, especially getting burned out.
Yeah. And I'll tell you guys, like, for everyone listening, there is for sure periods where you're going to have to amplify your workload and where you're going to decrease it.
Yep.
It's never like always the exact same all the time. When I tell you guys my schedule, I'm pretty consistent. I mean, it is like that the majority of the time, but there are times where I'm working on a new project or something really big. When I remember when we launched this podcast, it was like, obviously I wasn't doing a podcast before, but we had to get everything set up. We had to get all these things filmed, these ideas. We had to, like, it was a lot of work to do the initial setup. And to make sure I launched it good, I wanted to launch with 10 episodes already filmed.
Love
So
it.
not only did I have to maintain the current content we had coming out, I still had to do that, but now I have to go film 10 episodes in the next, week, 2 weeks. So I was just like slam those 2 weeks, like just doing what I had to do to get it off the ground.
Yeah.
And now it's normalized and it's into our normal workflow. But for anyone listening, it's like, don't think that I'm just like, oh man, I never work extra hours. Like, I do still.
Yep.
And for you listening, if you're doing the 9 to 5, and you're trying to get into real estate and investing or whatever the case is, absolutely, like, you're going to have to carve out time to work on your investing business. And you're going to have to carve out enough time for you to succeed. Like, carving out 2 hours a week, you ain't going to succeed.
Yep.
You know, if you can carve out 10, all right, you can have some success. And you just have to realize your time becomes even more valuable.
Yep.
You literally, those 10 hours, they have to be like 30 hours to somebody else. They have to be so hyper-focused. And I think that's where people fail.
Yeah. Like, I mean, as we gain success in business, you know, you start to surround yourself with more, you know, people of status and stuff like that. And if I were to, let's work my face off, you know, you have to be selfish with your time, especially as you gain success. But you have to develop those habits before you actually get there, you know?
Yeah.
So
I actually, I'm currently reading Tim Grover's book called Winning. He just came out with it. And I can guarantee you guys, I'm going to get Tim on this podcast. And there are a lot of things I agree with Tim, some I disagree with. But he also wrote another book called Relentless. And both are very hardcore books, I would call them, from an athlete's perspective. For those you don't know, Tim is Michael Jordan's, he was Michael Jordan's trainer for all these years. Then he became Kobe's trainer and Dwayne Wade's trainer, and like he trains CEOs and all these guys now. And one thing he talks about is you have got to be selfish, mainly with your time, like you said, but like you have to have a selfish nature, but in a good way, not in a way of like, oh, me, it's all about me, like if blah, blah, blah. But like you have to be very protective with your time. And, you know, for me, and he puts it in a good perspective. He's like, you know, for those he's like the best people that have the most success, they have a lot of alone time, time for them where they can be selfish. And he's like, the world tries to make it seem like it's this cool thing, like girls' night out, you know, the man cave, you know, where you can just go and whatever. For me, it's always in the morning. I have a morning routine that lasts me 3 to 4 hours. Literally, it's me one-on-one all the time. And I get to be alone before I have to go out into the world and give my time to everyone else. Yep. And I think you have to do that, especially when you're starting a new venture, is be super selfish with those 10 hours we're calling that you're going to spend on the business. Do not let anyone distract you. Yep. And don't like get on social media. Don't freaking take calls from your buddies. Like just push everyone out of the way. It's like, you know, you have this agreement with your family of like, hey, look, these 10 hours, I got to be hyper focused. I cannot do anything else. Yeah. And give me whatever, 2 months to make this happen. And if it doesn't happen in 2 months, then okay, you know, we'll do something else.
I think you hit it right in the nail on the head, you know, that alone time. I mean, I can think back even before I had all the success. I used to spend 32 minutes every day, and I would take a nap, like a power nap. And before I would take a nap, I would read, you know, about 15 to 17 minutes, and I developed a habit. And I don't remember where I learned it, but essentially, you know, if you learn something before you go to sleep, you're able to retain the information better. So that's what I did. You know, I
didn't know that. I sleep before bed, or I sleep before bed.
You read before bed.
I read before bed every night.
Yeah. Well, I've learned that, you know, just in school. It's like study before you go to sleep and, you know, cut out. But I did that in door-to-door sales. Like I would be in my car, put the seat back and, you know, read the book and take a nap. Yeah. I'd be in like CVS parking lots, 7-Eleven parking lots.
That's crazy.
But something about that alone time too is just that manifestation.
Yeah.
You know, you can't do that when you're flocked with people and responsibilities. You have to be alone to make that happen.
Well, I can tell it's a habit for you because you were super specific with your time. You're like, it was a 32-minute nap. Yeah. You know, I read for 17 minutes. Like these are not, you know, just pie in the sky numbers. So I agree with you. And I think that alone time allows you to think, be creative. You have new ideas. you can get balanced, you can get, your energy the right way. And, you're able to, what I would say, influence the world and do the things you want to do versus be reactive to the world.
Yep.
Most people live a reactive life.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, whatever happens today happens. Like versus, I'm like, hey, okay, what am I doing today? I'm spending my alone time. All right, here's the things I got to do. I got to go film with Donny. I got to go here. All right, and then I have this time right here. It's not being used. What can I do?
Yep.
Versus like, I don't even wonder what will happen during that time.
Yep. Yeah, that's kind of how it works, man. It's literally the same thing with a lot of my successful friends. It's very similar.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a key to success.
Well,
nugget.
Yeah, and I'm curious if and when I get Tim on this podcast, Tim Grover, the one thing he talks about is like his belief is that like balance is unattainable.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna be a winner, because his book is called Winning, you have to be like fully devoted to just your craft and whatever it is. He's like, Jordan, Kobe, these guys, right? They're just all in, and that's why they're the best. And I look at that, I'm like, yeah, sure, like, okay, you can definitely be all in at your craft doing that, but I think Jordan ended up divorced, and who knows what their life is like outside of basketball, truly.
Yep.
Right. But then I look at what we just talked about, and it's like, well, because we had more balance, we made more money in our companies.
Yep.
We had a better family life, and having a better family life makes me even better at the time I do spend doing things. I'm in a better mood versus, man, if things were really bad at home right now, I may not be doing this podcast. I may be like my head's in the clouds, and so it's like I don't believe that part of it. So I'm curious to hear.
Well, it's like, if I think back to the times where I was like dead broke, right? And you have to understand that people that are dead broke, it's tough mentally, right?
Yeah.
So being able to get out of that phase in your life, you have to be focused. You have to understand that it's just temporary, but you want to make sure that you never be in that same position. Build cash reserves, build that time reserves.
Yeah.
Because it's so important. And people that are dead broke, it's like, let's go grind my face off so I don't feel like this. Well, it's not necessarily about that, because the reason why you feel like that is because a lot of different areas. So take a step back, develop that schedule, build those cash reserves and that time bank.
Yeah. I love the time reserves. I've never heard anyone say that, but for sure that's, for me anyways, the top thing. It's like, man, if I'm going to give somebody an hour of my time, it better be really important.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, dude, totally in alignment there. And I think for you, it's going to be even crazier once, you become a dad.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah,
you have to really learn to balance it.
Yeah, well, when we figured out she was having a baby, that's when I made some serious business risks. I completely stopped working from the office 100%. I go to the office maybe 2 or 3 times a week. I promoted a VP of sales, and I have my transaction coordinator. I have a sales director, and not only because I was selfish with my time, what I realized is me not exiting the company, but I allowed them more opportunity to grow. Right. So instead of me being there physically to solve all these problems myself, all of a sudden, people started to rise up and started figuring out for themselves, and that leadership ability just expanded significantly in my company.
Right.
So it's not something that happened randomly. Like I planned for this, right?
Right.
So when the baby comes, it's gonna get even more interesting.
Yeah.
Just because. But like I was talking to a couple of people at the event last night, and it's just like, so what's next for you? Like what's going on here? I'm like, I'm not making any commitments past August because I may decide to take a year off.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
And not just fall off the face of the earth, but I'm planning to be the best father ever.
Yeah.
So.
And you told me that last night. You're like, yeah, I plan to take 6, and I when I heard the number 6, Like, okay, he's gonna take 6 weeks off or something. Like, that's good. And he's like, you're like, yeah, maybe like 6-9 months off. Who knows? And I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
okay, like,
Yeah.
that's a significant time off.
Well,
so-
I mean, it's just like, I talked to some of my mentors, and they're like, well, that's kind of selfish because you need to make money. Like, what are you doing for your company and stuff like that? Time off, I'm not saying completely stop working.
But we just talked about being selfish
Yep.
in the right areas
Exactly.
is a good thing.
Yep. So I'm learning how to get creative with my leadership abilities to promote people in an aspect to have more responsibility that requires less of my time.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, that's kind of like the Netflix way, like we talked about earlier, of, hey, give these guys big roles, pay them right,
Yep.
and let them make big decisions.
Yep. And it's crazy because like when it was back in November, come February is our biggest month ever.
It's crazy.
And, I realized it wasn't just that maybe I did suck. Maybe somebody else was better for the role.
Yeah,
right?
no, it's serious. It's
So-
true. I've seen it firsthand with my company. I've got Sean Bob running the house flipping operation, and I mean, this year in 2021, I have not done anything.
Yeah.
And even last year during COVID, we had our best year ever. And if you saw me, I'm making all this content. Like, that's my focus. It's most certainly not going on seller appointments and managing people.
Right.
Like, he's doing it. And I realized that he was better at managing all these people than
Yep.
me. I just am not good at running meetings and holding people accountable. I'm the worst accountability coach or partner ever. Because seriously, I'm just so focused on what it is I need to do. We talk about this selfish things I'm going to do what I got to do. And, it's going to be good for you or whoever else that we're doing this together for. But the thing you got to do, I'm not going to hold you accountable. I'm just expecting that you're going to do it.
Yep.
And we realize that it doesn't really happen that way.
Yep.
That's why there's managers. They're
Yep.
there to keep people accountable
Exactly.
and motivate them. And he's a great manager, and I am not.
Yeah. Well, not only that, I realized I was very prideful, overly aggressive. I was the super accountable person, but I learned by not spending as much time there is I'm not that creative. People around me are way more creative than I am. And so because I found that weakness, I'm able to promote that in somebody else, So the leaders in my company are very creative. And I didn't realize that until I let them, step up and start figuring things out.
Yeah, they can implement some ideas that,
And
you maybe brushed off.
Yeah, when I go visit the office and I'm like, where did that come from? Who did this? Where'd that board come from? Where'd this gear come from?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy how it happens.
Super crazy. Well, dude, man, it's been fun getting to hang with you as always, man.
Absolutely,
and I'm super appreciative of you inviting me to the event, and such a fun time. And guys, make sure you go and follow Donny on Instagram, and he talks about it, and you guys definitely want to catch the next one. By the time this show airs, probably there'll be a new one coming up here pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely check that out. Go give him a follow, and if you got deals in Texas, where do they send their deals?
You can DM them to me on Instagram, and I'll guide it to the right person to help.
So super easy, guys. Just literally go follow him on Instagram. What's the Instagram handle?
It's the Donovan Ruffin.
The Donovan Ruffin.
Yep.
So
or
we'll link
Facebook too, Donovan Ruffin.
Donovan Ruffin on Facebook. So we'll link to those down below. But anyways, dude, appreciate having you on, man.
Absolutely, man. And I'm very appreciative that you made it out. It took the time. It makes me feel special.
Cool, man. All right,
the
guys.
Ryan Pineda Show. What an honor.
The Ryan Pineda Show.
I did nail it.
Yeah,
The
there
Ryan
you go,
Pineda
right,
Show.
man, right there, man. So, anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this episode, do us a big favor. Make sure you're subscribed on the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace. Thanks for watching The Ryan Pineda Show. If you want to work with me, head over to ryanpineda.com. You can find my courses, coaching programs, and upcoming events. We also have free resources you can download, so head over to ryanpineda.com.